And good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to the committee of the whole meeting this morning. That everybody in the boardroom can make it, people on virtual can make it. Commissioner Goodchild is on his way. He's just running a little late this morning, so he will be here momentarily. And we will have public comment at the end of the meeting. Well, it's just the board at that time. They can do it at that time. That being said, I'll call this meeting to order and we'll move on with the roll call, please.
Commissioner Goodchild, absent. Commissioner Bardwell,
Here.
Commissioner Vaughn,
Here.
Commissioner Lutz,
Here.
Commissioner Cook.
Here.
You have a quorum, you may proceed.
We'll move on into new business. The only change that I know of, unless somebody else wants something they want to add, is number 3 under new business. Mike Miller had something come up this morning that he had to deal with, so he would like to have number 3 moved till Thursday. If we can do that. So we'll take number 3 off from new business. We'll move that to Thursday meeting. Does anybody else have anything? Okay, then we'll move on to new business. And number 1 in new business is Human Development Commission, HDC.
Good morning. Thank you for having me today. I do have copies of our annual report if I could pass them out to you all. I'm gonna leave one. You said you.
Yeah, he's supposed to be out of the way. See? Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is just an annual report of what we've accomplished at Human Development Commission with the senior services. This is for last fiscal year, so it includes Huron, Sanilac, and Tuscola counties. To start off, I like to talk about our accomplishments, and one of our successes has been the incorporation of caregiver celebrations to our programs. It's more of an informal support group, but we have been able to allow the care recipients to come with the caregivers to these celebrations, and it has increased the support not only for the caregiver, but also the care recipient. It also includes our kinship caregivers, which is older adults providing care to children. And so we have this great intergenerational experience that we've found between the kids and the older adults. Some respect for older adults is learned, and then the older adults are also getting to see the kids. And it really makes their day. So that was one of our biggest accomplishments, is the incorporation into that all year long. We do them quarterly, and we include the caregivers from all the counties that we provide. It's done in Cass City, so it's more of a central location for everybody, and we're able to cross connections that way. One of our challenges was the closure of our Deckerville kitchen in Sanilac County. So we had a lease there, and the leaseholder sold that building. And so now we're providing all of our meals out of our kitchen in Caro here. So that is one of our, it was a challenge, but we have grown from it. And ultimately we're saving money because there's one kitchen, one property to provide meals out of. So then we'll move on to page 5, our outreach. You can see that our goal for outreach was 768 hours. We more than doubled that goal with our outreach program last year. Outreach is done in one of 3 ways. It could be a one-on-one appointment with somebody that is over 60 or their family, and they know they need help, but they don't know what they really need, and they don't know where to go. And so this is not a self-serving program. Not everybody that gets outreach comes to Human Development Commission. It could be they need help with their Medicare. We don't help with those Medicare decisions in that big thick book that comes in. So that's a referral to another program. Outreach is also community presentations. So we, again, try to get as much information out there as possible. It doesn't necessarily mean it's to older adults, but lots of families have lots of people in the community have family members, and it could be, I heard HDC does this. So we do that. And then we also spend time doing canvassing, where we have scheduled time at local libraries or other places within the community where people can come and go and kind of just see our presence there, ask questions for that. The next page is our congregate meal sites. You can see that we went over our goal there. It is less than what we did in the previous year, and that was because of the loss of a couple sites in Huron County. But we still overhit our goal for dining centers. In Tuscola County, we have our site at the Mayville Church. We have one in Vassar at the fairgrounds. And then Thursday, we will be reopening our Caro site. It's at LNC Rental Hall here in Caro. In fiscal year 24, it was provided at our facility on Green Street. So 11 different through fiscal year 24 though. And then going right along with that is our senior center staffing. That's a newer program that we've had. And so you can see that we didn't quite meet our goal in fiscal year 23, but I'm happy to say we more than exceeded it in fiscal year 24. We had to figure kind of out what we were doing and get things going there. But that's where we're able to add some activities into the dining centers. It's more than a meal site. It's a place for socialization. It's a place for exercise. It's a place for learning about different opportunities or things within the community. When we open our site in Caro, it's not going to be the Caro Dining Center. It's going to be the Caro Senior Center. It's 9 to 3, so it's way more than just eating hours. There is going to be lunch served there, but it's going to be a place that people can drop in and come and go. And that is Thursday. I do have invitations for all of you here as well, because you guys have been very supportive through that. On the next page, our case coordination and support. That is our program that meets with people that have multiple needs and help them get services that they need. Most of these people get home delivered meals, and anybody that does get home delivered meals has to have an assessment to make sure that they're qualified and that the need is there. It's also a person-centered approach. So anything that we look at what their needs are, what their wants are, and try to help them with that in there. So you can see we far exceeded that goal as well. And in total, we served over 1,000 individuals with case coordination and support. So that's it turns into a big caseload for our staff. Our home delivered meals, of course, we talk about that a lot here. And again, because of additional dollars that we were able to get from you guys as well. In Stanislaus County, we were able to go above and beyond the meals served there. So 228,000 meals, almost 229,000 were served in fiscal year 24. That's across the 3 counties. Next year, it's going to be a little bit lower because of the loss of Huron County, but we are plugging right along and continuing to provide that high quality service. The next page is just some statistics about the amount, how fast older adults are aging. It's going to more than double, or it's set to reach 120 million by 2026 or 2060, which is going to increase the number of seniors by half of what we see right now. So we're constantly watching that and trying to figure out how we can continue to provide services as that group of older adults or group of people ages. Our next page is transportation. Transportation, when I look at rides, it's a one-way ride. So when we take somebody to, say, Ann Arbor, it's going to be considered two rides. So it's down there and then we bring them back. We have volunteers that help with that. We are looking for more. We can provide more services if we have more volunteers to help. Volunteers do get reimbursed mileage. And then if it's a long day, like a trip to Ann Arbor, we give them like a stipend for lunch. It's only $5. It's not a lot of money, but it does help because they are spending a lot of time on the road and probably would be purchasing their own lunch at that time. So you can see almost 12,000 rides were provided. That also includes bus tickets too. We provide bus tickets, so that number includes both those there. And then we have caregiver training hours. You'll see I talked about our success, and that is at the beginning of this, and you can see in the number of hours there. So fiscal year 23, we didn't quite meet our goal. In fiscal year 24, we exceeded it. And I think that a lot of that is to contribute to that more of an informal support group. And then also with that, I didn't mention is that when we bring everybody from all 3 counties together, now 2 counties, people can connect that they might not have connected in their local county. So you might have somebody that's caregiving for somebody with Parkinson's disease in Tuscola and Parkinson's in Sanilac, and they're not necessarily connecting at our monthly support groups because they're not coming that far, but with that central location in Cass City, these people can connect with each other a little bit better. So it has definitely made a difference for us there. The next page is our elder abuse page. That's through our victim services program where we provide help with older folks that have been victimized in some way or another. It could be financial exploitation. It could be physical abuse. And it could be verbal, mental. So we get those referrals. It's a self-referral program, and we try to help them either get out of their situation. If they need to go to court, we help them sit through the court cases, try to explain to them what would be coming next. But then we also do some prevention plans, and that's really big with our financial exploitation. You know about scams. And so we have staff that are available. Hey, I got this message for tolls, and I didn't go over any toll bridges. What do I do with this? So we do have a lot of those phone calls that come in, just trying to help with that prevention there.
I get one of them every day.
I have myself gotten them, and they're tricky, I think, because of our new toll bridges in Bay City.
Yeah.
And I think that some people do fall victim to it because I did go to Bay City that one day, but they're not going to text you. So that's just one of those tricky things. So, and then if there's any questions.
Chairman, I have some questions.
Yeah.
All right.
Christy, very, very good. I see you're keeping up with a lot of services and certainly an incremental growth. The question I was thinking about as you went over the statistics of the population growth and the seniors, almost doubling by 260, but I won't be here, and 230 is not far away, but at any rate, that's overall. What's your projections for Tuscola County in terms of the increase in seniors as well as the ability to continue servicing the needs that you're servicing today?
I think Tuscola County is going to see the same projection as far as having that older adult population. I think what's concerning, and that's overall, but also in Tuscola County, is having the available people to be able to provide those services. When that's your greatest population, is that older adult, then you have less of those people in the working class age to be able to provide the services. So that is I'm afraid that we're going to run into where we don't have the staff. Now, I would say in the last 12 months, we've had pretty decent retention within our whole organization. But I do worry about that in the future if you've got your greatest population being over 60 and in retirement age. Maybe they're going to end up having to work longer. I don't know, but that's kind of my thought about that, is to have the staff to actually help provide the services.
So with that thought, what's do you consider your threshold in terms of financial peril in terms of Tuscola County? Let's say that the next 2030 Tuscola County increased by a quarter. We'll take a half versus a half. What do you project financially? Your staffing, I know, is the main consider, but I didn't hear anything about finances. The finances liquid enough that you're not too concerned?
I think the millage passing recently is going to help with us by 2030. If you get to 2060, we're going to have, I mean, hopefully we look at that again before then, but I think the millage passing, and Mary Ann, our finance director, is here. I don't know if you have any other predictions to say, if you don't mind.
My only other comment would be, obviously, we don't know about the cost of living, and obviously cost of living continues to increase. My concern is being able to provide the quality of service and the number of units that we've been able to provide with everything increasing in cost. Mileage reimbursement for our volunteers has already gone up 8 cents this year.
We didn't increase it.
Okay. So we're going to have to look at those types of things. We are going to have some difficulties, I think, in the future. I don't think it's going to be this year or next year, but probably 5 years down the road, we may have some bigger issues. Cost of food has gone up. There's a lot of things that we're going to have to be addressing. Revenue remains the same, but the cost of everything goes up.
That's what I was referring to behind the scenes. Is obviously you're going to reach that plateau at some point, and I know it's in your mind. You often think about it, but I was just curious with the growth figures that you have indicated.
Yeah, we have to start looking at other ways to bring in some additional revenue, because it is starting to get to a point where between the millage funding and the Region 7 funding and even our donations continue to decrease because seniors are living on less income. So those are things we are going to have to really watch.
I also noticed that under transportation, the rides from 23 to 24, the requests have substantially increased.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of years ago, Andy Daniels out of Aspire attempted to get the community's attention. Many of us were invited to that to initiate a drive for a village for public transportation, much like modeling here in Canada. What are your projections in terms of the needs for as the population grows elderly? What are your thoughts? Have you had any discussions on that?
I think the hospitals are doing a better job at bringing specialties local, which does help. Some of these people that we're transporting, they would have no problems driving from Caro to Cass City or from Vassar to Caro. But when you're talking to go to Lansing, to Ann Arbor, to even Saginaw is sometimes difficult. So I think it could, as long as we can get specialties within our community, it might not take off too bad. But you are going to have people that aren't driving. And we look at whether or not they should be driving too. If you don't have a choice whether or not you're going to, I'm going to this doctor's appointment one way or another, but should they really be doing that? We look at that too. It's same with our meals and the homebound piece of it. They still have their driver's license. They haven't lost that independence, but maybe they don't want to be put in too bad of a situation where those bigger cities can be difficult to drive in.
One of the instances that they had cited back then is the ambulances often had to wait because they had no transportation. That was one of them. But you also indicated, you just keyed on a very excellent one, is that was the specialties. That, and at that time it was Saginaw based. I mean, if you had to go further, there wasn't the availability that they thought that they should have. The same issues you're bringing up was brought up, although it was backed off because of other financial issues. It's just interesting to see that the statistics are moving in a direction that road's going to have to be crossed at some point. It's going to be coming forward, as well as the meals and other delivery services. And perhaps, are there any other services that are being requested that are crescendoing that you might have to provide in the future?
I think our case coordination and support is also going up because people need somebody to kind of guide them from service to service. It is also the access point into our home delivered meals. We talk to them. We do at least assessments twice every year. We talk to them, ask for like health updates every 60 days. We are also, if they're not home for a home delivered meal, we try to contact them. So we have a lot of time and effort into those, and our caseloads keep going up and up with those. I like to see them around 150 a staff, and they're pushing 200 at this point. So that's one of my other concerns. We have people that normally wouldn't take a case, they're taking some caseloads. So
That's a good point, because just if you change one number here in your case coordination and support, went up 1,000 hours just in 1 year. That's
mhm.
significant.
Yes.
Chairman, that's all I have. I was just curious on what direction we're going with HDC and how they're gonna address those issues.
Thanks for that. Anybody else got questions for?
Thank you.
Thank you
very
guys
much.
this morning. Appreciate it. Sheriff's Office, annual report. Dear Ryan Ravel.
Morning.
Morning, Sheriff.
I trust you guys all received a copy last week of the annual report. I do apologize. There's no page numbers on here. So it's going to kind of be hard to follow along because I'm not going through each and every page, and I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit. First, want to start out though by recognizing some of our people. We had a whole bunch of new people hired in 24, starting with Kyle Arp. He was hired for road patrol. Jack Dudzik, he was road patrol. Tricia Sharp was records. David Ott was corrections. Adam Callahan was corrections. David Campbell, corrections. And lastly, Jacqueline Kreener, she was hired in corrections. So quite a bit of work was done to try to fill some of those open vacancies in 2024. Continuing on with people, our officer of the year was Deputy Mike Kennedy, and that was for his role in the community corrections program. He had thousands of dollars worth of equipment donated to us throughout the year from his work in the community. He made Facebook 7-8 different times. It was hands down, in my mind, he was going to be the recipient of that from all the work he did in the community. Other awards that we gave out, Detective Sergeant Herman, he received a Meritorious Service Award. I can't go into specifics about that case because trial's actually coming up this month. But he's been working nonstop on a case for over a year now. So he was awarded for that. Deputies Clark and Coleman, they received bravery awards for basically wrestling a firearm out of some guy's hands so that he wasn't able to hurt himself or others. Angle, Harrison, and Brenniger, they're all three corrections guys. They didn't receive an award, but they were recognized for doing a good job searching some clothing. Someone tried to smuggle in some things into the jail, and they were able to find that in a hidden scene. So we gave them some recognition too. Lastly, Herman and Anderson were recognized at our meeting because they didn't use any sick time in all of 2024. So I think that's something that goes unnoticed a lot, and I like to try to highlight that because that's a really difficult thing to do, to go the entire year without using sick time. So moving on to some of the stats, our jail population from about August on kind of plummeted quite a bit, and it's continued to be low. It's not because people it's not that they're not breaking the laws, it's just that they're not getting sentenced to jail. And then by the time they do get sentenced, they end up getting time served. So we don't really get much use out of them right now for the community corrections. Last year, we lodged 942 people. That's up from the previous year, 918. The vast majority of those are repeat offenders, as you can imagine. Corrections, I got some activities and hours. There's a whole chart in there, compares 23 to 24. They logged a lot more hours in 24 than they did in 23. 24,461 hours of logged activity in 24 versus 21,000 in 23. So they were much busier. Our accidents, total vehicles involved in 24 was 1,460 versus 1,352 in 23. So our crashes were way up. our traffic stop numbers were down and our citation numbers were down. So I hope that's not the reason that our crashes were up. I'd like to maybe get those back to where they should be and maybe see if some of those crashes can come down into this year for the next report cycle. If you look at our calls for service, a lot of your major calls, like your burglary, forced entries, disorderlies is on there, but then aggravated assaults, especially with weapons being involved, CCW violations, all of the CSCs and the child abuse, all of those numbers are higher in 2024 than in 2023. So it was, I guess, a much more violent year than 23 was. But still, our numbers lodged were less. But anyway, like I mentioned before, the citations were down, total of 436 down. In 2024, we wrote 1,477 traffic citations. In 23, it's 1,913. But I do want to point out, it's not 1,477 citizens. Sometimes you might get a drunk driver that gets himself 5 tickets, right? So we didn't write 1,400 citizens across the county tickets. So I do like to highlight that. Canine deployments more than doubled in 24 compared to 23. We went from 31 to 68. A big chunk of that was Deputy Coleman. He jumped from 5 narcotics deployments up to 20 searches for drugs, whether it be at houses or in cars. My explosives deployments jumped up to 6 last year. I'm almost afraid to report for next year because I'm already at 4 call-outs this year with the bound dog. So, yeah, those numbers keep going up. And then our victim services unit, Nancy, she was off for a good chunk of the year with some injuries and stuff, but she still was able to serve 145 different victims. So I thought that was good. That's getting PPOs and things like that to victims of crimes. Other than that, that's, like I said, that's just some of the statistical stuff. I know there's a lot to look through. Next year, I'm going to try to get some page numbers on here so it's easier to kind of go through and tell you where I'm working. But if you guys have any questions, I'll take those.
Any questions for the sheriff?
I know there's a lot of
A lot of
stuff in
stuff
there.
in
There's
there.
a lot of,
Lot of good stuff.
and when you get back into like the calls for service and things like that, some of the stats goes back to 22 as well, so you can kind of see like a 3-year trend. Last year, we didn't have anyone full-time secondary road patrol. It was only working on a part-time overtime basis. So I think that's some of the reason why those traffic stops were down. This year, we have someone in that full-time spot. So I think that'll boost the safety on the roads back up. Deputy Perry's our full-time traffic guy now. So I think those numbers will improve.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
How are we doing on the county Marine Patrol?
The Marine Patrol, we did, they didn't write any citations last year. They did quite a few verbal warnings. They did, I believe it's 444 hours logged out on the waters. The vast majority of that was on the bay, obviously, and then a little bit here and there on the smaller bodies. And again, I apologize because there's no page number, so I got to flip through here. But yeah, it was 444 hours if my memory serves me correct.
Yeah. That's what.
That was okay. Yeah. So they're out there. Like I say, they didn't write any citations. It was all just verbal warnings. I'm hoping that maybe they could get some enforcement out there, but they're out there for safety, not necessarily trying to hammer people that are out there fishing. So.
Chairman, I have a couple of questions. There's a lot of information, Ryan. I just picked it up this morning. I was looking at, in the past with Judge Joslin and many of the bunch of history here. Is the jail capacity, is it 92 or 93 or something like that? What is it?
I thought it was 89.
Is it 89?
It's right around that. Yeah, right around the 90.
So you were getting close, the middle of last year. You're in the 80s at that point.
Correct.
You indicated drop. I was flipping the page and looking at the recidivism or repeat offenders. What has happened? You go back to 214. It's very interesting to follow the stats here, and you look at the repeat offenders. And at one time, we were noted to be the easy route for crime out of Lapeer County and others, and I don't know what happened. I mean, that was often cited that we would do. They would come here, but whatever happened from 218 to 219 forward on the repeat offenders, what caused that to decline significantly? That's on page number log comparison. That's somewhere near the front.
Well, okay, so some of that is because they changed some of the laws that we can arrest on and things like that. We can't arrest someone for driving on a suspended license anymore. It doesn't matter how many times they've done that. We can't lodge anybody on that. So they've changed the laws during that time and made it more difficult for people to get lodged. So some of those repeat offenders from those previous years, the 16, 17, and 18, they'd be arrested for some of those minor misdemeanor violations. And now we simply can't arrest for that anymore.
Even if it's second occurrence, third occurrence?
Can't do it.
And why is that? Where did that come from? Did that come from Lansing? Did that come from?
Yeah, that's exactly where that came from. I don't want to get into a political thing, but that's where that came from. So yeah, we just write those people tickets. And then interestingly enough, if they don't pay the tickets, then they'll get a bench warrant and then we can arrest them.
What other infractions have been reduced in terms of your ability to?
So basically all misdemeanors, unless they're, violent or unless it's like your OWI, if we can't justify a reason for safety in order to take them to jail right then and there, we're told go ahead and kick them loose with a ticket. So basically any of your misdemeanor levels, we're not arresting for unless it's like a domestic violence or an OWI, things like that. Assaults, we still arrest on if the people want to press charges. But surprisingly enough, an assault, you have to have a victim to cooperate. Someone could get, clocked pretty good and still say, no, I don't want to do anything. So those people aren't arrested.
So in those areas that were reduced in terms of severity of misdemeanors, and while you're writing the tickets, I guess you're writing a ticket.
Some of them would
Is it
be
a
a
ticket
ticket.
or a warning?
Some is a report to the prosecutor's office.
Okay.
So charges could get filed that way.
What's the worst case scenario you've seen because of the leniency? Some of the worst, not an exact example, but has it contributed to greater severity in crimes or harm to others?
Most of I don't think so. I don't think that has contributed to more severe crimes. I think society as a whole is just, getting more dangerous. That and policies are changing. There's a lot of agencies that won't pursue anymore and people know that. So they'll kick it and go. But I don't think any of those misdemeanor arrests, not being able to make those, has contributed to any more violent crimes or anything like that. A lot of those numbers were truly the low-level crimes, but they were repeat offenders. So you would try to lodge them and try to, make it stick a little bit, make it make sense for them to stop doing it. So I don't think that's contributed to the violence.
So the reduce in terms of the severity of infractions has been a good thing from Lansing.
Yeah, I mean, in some avenues it's good and others it's not.
However, you did say that it's getting more precarious for the public in many ways.
Yeah.
Rephrase that somewhat. What you said that, so should the public be more conscious of their safety in Tuscola County as a result of many of the legislative acts or what's going on?
Well, I'm always going to advocate for that. Everybody needs to pay attention to their surroundings more. You know, you can't just keep your head in the sand. We just had a training the other day in Reese about, you know, active assailants in schools and things like that. We always, in my business, we always say it's not if, it's when. So you can never go wrong with being more aware of your surroundings. But you know, Tuscola County, we are close to Saginaw, we are close to Genesee County, and those folks do come up and take advantage of us from time to time. So I think you always should have your head on a swivel. Don't just be paying attention to your phone when you're in parking lots. You should be looking around. But I'm always going to advocate for that. Some people just aren't comfortable feeling like they're always possibly being watched, but that's kind of what we tend to do in law enforcement and kind of what we've learned in our careers.
Well, thank you for your report, Ryan. Again, it's extensive and very informative. Comparison, I mean, I saw a 23 report here as well, but comparison is very difficult because of the amount of information, but it is an excellent report. Obviously, we're very, very proud of you and your staff and the road patrol and corrections of all that you do within the binds of what you have to do with them.
Well, and a shout out to Shannon too, because she's the one that goes through and makes all these graphs and compiles all these numbers and things like that. So the amount of information in here is directly related to her work, digging in and trying to get as many numbers out there as possible. So
the last question for me, Chairman, is, you know, in the past, recruiting has always been an obstacle for many reasons. How do you see that going forward now that you're the new sheriff?
So right now we're actually in a fortunate spot. We have one person in the academy. There's another person in the academy right now that hasn't been hired. And so we're actually trying to bring him over for an interview, but they just have, you know, select days that they're able to leave. We do have a female that lives in Reese that we're going to be sponsoring her in the August Academy. So if all of those stars align, then we will be fully staffed on the road patrol for the first time in a long time. Now, as far as like corrections, we just posted online. We're getting applicants from all over the place. But, you know, I am looking at the tech center too, talking with Steve Rowland, trying to see if some of these kids graduating can come out and maybe fill some of those holes in corrections. We only have one opening in corrections right now, and we have, there's about 3 or 4 applicants right now. So we're getting ready to do some interviews on the corrections side too. So, you know, maybe we'll be full in corrections here soon too. So it's looking better than it has in a long time. So.
Thank you, Ryan. No further questions.
I got one. So do you know how many outstanding warrants we have that's in the county by chance?
Oh no, I don't know that
Would
number.
would that be a lot?
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, I wouldn't have those numbers. I could check, but
That'd be the ones that they turn loose and they just don't come back.
yeah, sometimes, you know, sometimes they don't live here, so they came and they violated, and we did a warrant request. They issued, and so now it's a matter of just waiting. Some of them are your failure to appear. Some of them are strictly they didn't pay. Of course, there's still the child support warrants and things like that. Like there's thousands of outstanding warrants.
Well, thanks for your good job you guys are doing. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff. All right. Number 3, we'll move to Thursday. We'll move on to number 4. Resolution for 217 fund, Erica Devil.
Good morning.
Good morning.
At our last meeting, you approved the budget for the MMPC, but we need to create a fund in our system. So this is simply just a request to create a fund. We of course had to check with the Uniform Chart of Accounts to make sure that we're using those appropriately. So with Debbie's help, we found 217 is available. So that's the one that we're gonna request we use. And this is going to put in the budget that you approved at the last meeting.
Any questions for Erica on that?
Since I wasn't here, Chairman, what is this gonna cost the county?
Nothing. This is a grant by the state of Michigan. They're allotted a certain dollar amount. I want to say 70,000 plus a percentage or a dollar amount per capita for this material management planning commission.
The question was asked because at some point, I suspect we will be faced with that, since this is a grant. As we progress, we've all had that indication. Or thought. No further questions.
CA this?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Number 5, budget amendment request fund 232 Wellington Township Police contract.
This is merely an update. Our contract with Millington was not accurately reflected in the 2025 approved budget. So it's actually no impact to the bottom line. We're increasing revenue and expenditures to more accurately match the Millington contract. And I worked with undersheriff to validate the numbers.
So, Chairman.
Yep.
What areas were the adjustments? I mean, what were the significant areas? Are they in the red in the requested budget amendments? They weren't very significant.
Correct. I don't have a colored copy. I apologize, but the requested amendment column, those are the adjustments. So if there's any number other than 0, it's an adjustment. Second column from the right.
Well, there's numbers all the way through. Okay, I see what you're saying. So all the number, if there's a number in there, somewhere in red, that's why I pointed out the red.
Red would be a negative adjustment.
Okay. so
Black
the other
would be a
ones are- oh,
positive
okay.
adjustment.
It looked like a total of about 28,000.
Correct. So the Millington contract was for the 212,383. Our budget was set at 183,735.
Okay.
So again, we have the contract with them. It was a 3-year contract. So I'm just requesting that we make the budget more accurately match. I understand that again, in the fourth quarter, we may have to review again to make sure that we're aligned, but I'm trying to be proactive, not reactive.
So the revenue went from 183 to 212. Is what
Correct.
you're saying. Okay. No further questions.
CA this also?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Erica.
Move on to number 6. Out-of-state travel request for Ian Lee to attend the Texas A&M Engineering Central Service. All that stuff. Just wear your Michigan shirt if you don't.
They just got eliminated from the tournament, so I don't think that would be a problem, right? Yeah, good morning. This program was brought to my attention by Michelle McClish from the DTMB in the state of Michigan, approximately November last year. There's a lot of these programs that go around, but something that caught my eye on this was this is provided and federally funded through FEMA. And to be able to be accepted into this program, I had to apply for and receive a FEMA student ID and get registered with all that. And then I had to be vetted and selected to attend. So I'm one of approximately 200 people that applied and got into this. It's fully funded, fully paid for. And they pay for the airlines, the hotel, the food, everything. What the county would be on the hook for is the parking at the airport. And they would reimburse for that. So it's totally free to us. I've been accepted into it. I'm ready to go. Just need your permission. What it basically is how we respond, not if, but when we have a cyber incident, how we respond and how we react. We have a cyber incident response plan. We've used it. But reviewing it and staying sharp on this is quite important. So we have an opportunity to do that through the best and the brightest in the nation. And I got in, lucky enough to be in. So with your permission, I'd like to attend that.
That's CA too?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Congrats.
Thank you.
Remember that Michigan shirt?
Out-of-state travel. That was for that. Oh, that was for that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, I just did. I don't see anything under old business.
Number 7.
So
That's what I was trying to do, but. Mr. Cook doesn't have it.
When you read the out of state, that was with the one previous.
Oh, the highlight letter of support.
So we can drink the tea.
Clerk Fetting received this, are you ready?
Highlight letter of support.
Okay. Clerk Fetting received this request from Highline, who is a broadband provider. They're looking for support for their application process with the state. She passed it to me and asked what I thought, and I said it's the board's decision. But I would recommend that we do not sign this. We want to stay fair and impartial to any of these providers. I think by signing this, we're sending favoritism to somebody, and we have providers in our own county that we should be looking at. If anything, we should be promoting those. So be fair and impartial to all these parties. I suggest that you do not sign this.
So this letter just specifically for Highline.
Yes.
I would agree with it.
I agree with you.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see anything under old business. We move on to finance technology, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Bardwell if he has anything.
I sort of do, and I'm not sure why it's not being addressed in a meeting that we had with Plant Moran. A phone conversation, is that supposed to be on this agenda, this discussion?
Thursday's agenda.
I
Commissioner
may
Reed.
not be here then.
Yes, that
But-
was Thursday.
Oh, then I'll just speak on my behalf. In case I'm not here, I'm in the woods. The phone conversation was very interesting. First time I was ever involved in the Plant Moran discussion. I think one of the key learning things I'd like the board to reflect on is that you probably would recommend that they have the Plant Moran contract that was provided to them so they know the scope of the activities and what the deliverables were to be. The deliverables were, as I recall, a list that Clayton had provided with 7 or 11 or whatever it was, items that she wanted to be resolved related to line items or expense. I believe I'm correct with that so far. That's my cursory listening from the meeting, which the chair was on as well. And the other aspect, in terms of the reason that they were engaged is, I know I've made the recommendation in the transition of Calayet that we had someone oversee our finances outside. Customer Matters was our auditor, but at any rate. But regardless of that, I understood that there are some deliverables that were not provided and may have open questions. And my curiosity, my concern is one of those related to a significant number, 2 million that were, in terms of an adjustment was made that was not, has not, perhaps has been, but has not been tracked back to the line items that it may have affected. It was a general ledger, as I recall. I don't have that list of Clayton. I'd like the board to have that list as well, so we could review, or you could review, or we from here, to see what this was all about before any action's taken. My concern with that, and they did speak briefly, only that I believe they said something about 216, but this meeting was not what I had expected. But needless to say, with Clayet's forecast, which is a financial deficit in 26 through 29, 28, we want to make sure that before that we understand where we're at. That 2 million, whether it's real or not, I did talk to the treasurer. She was not aware of it, to my knowledge and her knowledge. I don't know what this is about, but just a mere fact. The other items must have been much minor than that. So if you look at it on Thursday, have the list that Clayette had provided, have that contract, and also have a good understanding of what deliverables were provided and what were outstanding. And just as I said earlier, the one that concerns me the most is the 2 million question but I'm not exactly sure how to pose that to you because I'm not sure. I don't have anything. So Chairman, that's all I had to report on that.
Any more questions on that? So Thursday we'll have the list that they had what they're supposed to provide. And, I don't know the answers to what they've done, so that's part of the issue of commissioners. We get things completed, bills, but send us, okay, you completed this. What did you do to complete this? What did you find out when you complete? We have no idea. It just says completed. Okay, but we don't know how you done it, So we need to get that communication straight, and they're supposed to be sending us how you done it. Eric, you got something you want to add to this?
Yes. So they did provide us the deliverables on Friday and we're reviewing those.
Up to the mic, please.
I'm sorry. So they did send us the deliverables on Friday and we're currently reviewing those. And the $2 million question is regarding the booking of the revenue. So the previous controller administrator pre-booked the revenue at a time that is not in the standard for our modified accrual accounting method. He used the standard accrual accounting method. So what we're doing now is validating, did we indeed receive the same number of dollars in revenue in the same period? So I've talked to the auditors. We're reviewing that. If we did indeed receive it in the calendar year in which the previous administrator booked it, there's probably no adjustment that we will need to make because it was indeed received in the calendar year. If it was not received in that calendar year, then we're going to have to make some adjustments. So that with the auditors and then the notes from Plant Moran, we'll make that decision this week if we have to make some adjustments to the journal entries that were made.
Any question, Chairman?
Yeah.
When you speak of Neil, I'm thinking of, you call it standard accrual. There's full accrual and modified accrual.
Correct.
County uses modified, Neil was using full, which makes it more realistic in the real world because it's up to date. Modified means at the end of the year, which when you get to the end of the year, you'll be making adjustments, trying to balance out accounts and finding money to do that. That concerns me greatly because we saw what happened last year and we saw the transfers that took place. Also, Erica, as you know, we are cash poor. All we have is GSP funds, maybe 1.5 million or less, and that was left over from the ARPA funds, which were left over from the projects that were requested that we didn't fund. That's our cash, because we had nothing in the contingency. Last I knew we had 500,000 in general fund, but I'm sure that's been modified somewhat as well. So that's the reason I'm concerned on the board's perspective, just to make sure it's clear that when we start with Erica and the administration that we have now, that we're going to be fully prepared for this audit coming in the fall. Yeah, whenever it comes, we start. I'm not
This
sure
week,
what-
this week, actually.
week.
We're good today, yes. We're here in about an hour.
Start.
3 days after spring.
We don't get the end for we don't get it for some time. So that we aren't surprised. You're absolutely right, Chairman. There was a lot of discussion on billing invoices and whatnot, but related to that, I did see the detailed billing. Looks like the old firms we used to use. I'm not sure what software they're using, but they can get very detailed. At any rate, I'll defer back to you, Chairman.
Okay. So there'll be more to come on Thursday on this case.
One last quick, could we
Yeah.
get that before Thursday? I mean, I don't know if you're gonna pass it out Thursday. I'd like to see it before Thursday,
Sure,
if that's possible. or just-
yes.
Is that approved, Chairman?
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
we can-
And I don't know what level of detail that you're looking for, just that list from CLEA, or you're looking for Plant Moran's deliverables.
I'm
They're,
looking for both. That was the initial request for Plant Moran.
comparison.
I mean, that's what they were engaged to do. And then what resolution for each line item did they come up with? It doesn't have to be detailed, just what was it? And do we have,
Right.
does the board have to be concerned with it financially? So that, because
there's
there's
a
questions.
significant amount of data that they provided us that we are working to go through line by line.
We don't want that.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. How much data was?
We just want to know if the question was asked sufficiently that the board does not have to be concerned financially with any of the activities of the previous control. Well, the
They-
previous.
They
the
declared,
Previous control administrator.
they declared in that meeting that they did not go through every single transaction of a previous controller administrator, despite them marking it completed. When they marked it completed, they meant anything that would affect their audit. However, I read some of the deliverables and it says immediate action needed. So I need to clarify, did they
Clarify
take the
that.
immediate action or did they not take? Who did they tell that needed to take immediate action? Is this their directive at this time? Or was it already handled? So I have some more research to do
That
with
needs to be
them.
resolved.
And then I also want to run all of those decisions past the auditors. Because what I don't want to do is make a change based on numbers that they already ran. So
My
if the auditors already ran their details and I start making changes, it could be a red flag. So I want to work with them to say, can I make these changes? And then you run your numbers for your audit.
And when you come back to the board, we want the higher level.
Okay.
Okay, not line item by line by line. We want to know if it's resolved sufficiently that the board does not have to be concerned financially. At the same time, and I'll just mention this to the board, after that conversation, it was very clear that they are eager to end this contract for various reasons. So with that said, I just don't want to make it premature until we're assured we're financially clean. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that we don't have to revisit, well, what did we do in December back now or whenever we have to make some reconciliation. So, yeah, just keep it at that level. But do the due diligence that's needed to be done to assure yourself and staff that the appropriate investigations were done and their conclusions are sufficient.
Certainly.
Back to you, Jeff.
Anything under technology there?
Just progress made on the building. We got, cameras done. Key card access is done. We're ready to ship as soon as we get the okay.
I know this is not building grounds, so I hold it to ask the question on the building.
Right.
I know that we're not, this is not building grounds, this is technology, right?
Right.
Well, maybe I'll just go forward. When is the final inspection and the keys are handed over? What does that look like? I'll save it for
I
building
know
and
we're close.
grounds.
I can't answer that for you. I don't know.
Oh, there's more to that I can tell from.
That's why Mike's not here.
All right.
As far as I'm aware, we just have the flooring in the main room has to be finished, and then after that. So it could be, I don't want to name and say dates, but April 16th. 2 weeks.
Now that Ian stole my thunder. I heard 2 weeks, so they said 15th, 16th. Coming along.
No further. It was better news than I expected after I glanced at you. I thought.
Things are looking a lot better over there.
Where's the loot? Anything else on building and grounds?
No, that's about it. Things are looking better. Back to you.
Personnel, we just have a prosecutor's office request. Sally Lutz.
Commissioners, on behalf of Prosecutor Wally, she is requesting a new hire to refill a vacant position she has in her office. Due to previous experience as a legal secretary, as well as Prosecutor Wally has cited United States Marine Corps, she is requesting that her wage be approved at step 2 on a pay scale of $18.36 an hour, the tentative start date of March 31st. This would be budget neutral to the employee that resigned a few weeks ago.
Put a motion together for this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions on this? Anything else? Shall other, I go personnel, anything else?
No, at this time.
Any other business is necessary? Come from the board. Any other business is necessary? Public comment. Is everybody out there wants to address the board this morning under public comment? Anybody wants to address the board this morning under public comment? You can do that now. Seeing or hear none, let the record show, please, that public comment was offered and we had no participants. With that, we'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting this morning.
So moved. Support.
So move by Commissioner Cook, support by Commissioner Luce, to adjourn the committee of the whole meeting this morning. We want to thank everybody this morning. Tuned in, was in the boardroom, and this meeting stands adjourned.